Hello again. I just wanted to give you a few more tips about pruning, but I also want to give you some ideas of what you want to accomplish when you're pruning. You need to think about what is the purpose of this tree in my yard or my orchard? Is the sole purpose of the tree to produce fruit? If so, you want to prune it in a way that's going to maximize fruit production, as well as making it so it's harvestable, so that the branches aren't so tall that you can't reach them with the tall ladder, so you're able to harvest the fruit successfully. You also have to consider, like I mentioned in the previous video, are you able to navigate around the tree? Is it in the way of your yard if you have kids or animals like a dog, or you just need to walk through your yard? Is it in the way of your yard? Another thing to consider about the tree is, do you care how it looks? Do you care if it's aesthetically pleasing, if it looks beautiful? Do you care about the shape? Does it matter to you if it's symmetrical or not? Is it in your front yard or is it in your backyard? Is it something that people can easily see from the street? Does it affect the curb appeal of your home, or is it something that's mostly for fruit production? In the example of this apple tree, we like it for its fruit. It has really good tasting apples, but it also provides some privacy for our window right there when there's leaves on it in the summertime. It also provides shade. But at the same time, we also need to be able to walk around it to get access to our hose that's back here and some plants that I grow down here during the summertime. So you need to think about all those things and think in the long term what you want to accomplish with that tree while you're pruning it. So just think about 3 steps ahead, kind of like a game of chess with the tree. You need to think about 3 years ahead from now. If I prune this branch off, is that going to affect where I want the tree to be? Or if I prune a branch off in one place, will allow it to grow more on another. So anytime you prune something off, the tree is gonna want to grow every year, and so it's gonna redirect that growth somewhere else. And so you need to think about the consequences of the branches that you trim off in terms of where you want the branches to grow, where you want more of the growth to happen, where you want less of the growth to happen. So you want to prune back branches that are growing in a direction where you don't want them to grow. If they're going to grow into a way where you need to walk, or if they're going to grow too tall. That's why in 2019, last year, when I was pruning this tree, I cut out a middle top branch so that I didn't want the tree to grow too tall, so I could harvest the fruit, because I want to limit the height of the tree. And like I mentioned in that video, you don't want to just give trees a haircut at the top. You can thin out the middle of it to stimulate outward growth and to inhibit upward growth, and you can do that, but you need to think about exactly what you want the tree to do for you while you're pruning it. Try to keep it a decent looking shape so it looks aesthetically pleasing, if that's something you care about, and also prune it in a way that you can limit its height if you're trying to get up to the tall parts of the tree to harvest the fruit from it more easily. And also if there's branches that you're constantly walking into and bumping your head against, if they're down close to the ground, or if they're in the way when you're trying to mow the lawn or things like that. So you're also not really supposed to put grass right up next to a fruit tree. It's ideal. I have a little bit too much grass next to this fruit tree. I need to prune it. I need to dig out some grass from around the tree and create a little bit more. It's actually ideal to have a couple feet of just dirt and soil with no grass right next to a fruit tree, because you don't want the tree to be competing with the grass for nutrients. You want the tree to be able to absorb the water and fertilizer and nutrients from the soil around it without competing for nutrients from the grass. And so that also makes it so you're less likely to damage the tree with a lawnmower, which my kids have done when they mow the lawn. They've bumped into this poor peach tree several times, and my other trees as well, but this poor peach tree is the more delicate of the trees. It's the youngest tree I have, but it produces amazingly delicious fruit, so we're doing everything we can to save it. So it's not just because it's been bumped by the lawnmower, but also because it's had some insect infestation problems that I'll show in a different video. But you want to keep the grass away from the base of fruit trees, or any tree in your yard. Ideally, it'd be good to keep the grass away from it, because you don't want to be using a string trimmer right next to the trunk, because the string trimmer or the lawnmower, if you're mowing or string trimming right up next to a tree, will damage the bark on the tree. And it's better just to use a shovel and dig out the grass from around it, and you can use a little bit of Roundup if you have to, or vinegar or something to kill the grass that's right immediately next to the tree, and just dig it out and be diligent about keeping grass away from the trunk so that you don't have to mow or string trim right next to it, because that is more damaging to the trunk and the bark. So think several steps ahead when you're pruning. Think about the future of where you want growth to happen. If you prune out the middle tall trunk, then it's going to stimulate outward growth if that's what you want. Or if you want the tree to grow tall and upright, then that's fine. You can leave the middle trunk in place. You just need to think about the long-term consequences of the pruning that you do. Because if you prune something back, the tree is and the roots are still there, and it's going to stimulate growth in a different direction. So just think about that while you're pruning. So I thought those would be some helpful ideas. Comment below if you have any ideas of what are your best tips you've learned about pruning and trimming fruit trees. Give me some of your ideas and things that have worked well for you. I'd love to hear your comments and feedback below. I'm not an expert in fruit trees, but I've learned a few things after taking care of some fruit trees for the past 10 years or longer. So give me some ideas there. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I'd love to hear what are some of the best things you've learned about pruning fruit trees and taking care of fruit trees.